How's it going, everyone? Shane here, Scorpion Six Knives. We took a poll not too long ago asking for questions that people want us to go over, and one of those was on blade shape, design, function, and the types of grinds, either hollow, flat, combo, and things like that. So today's little Tip Tuesday lesson is going to be on blade style and grind and the function thereof. So check it out. All right, so first things first, I'm sure most people are familiar with the different kind of blade shapes. Now there's a lot of them, so I'm not really going to go into all of them. But if you're looking at the common, and again, there's differences of opinion in all these too. Ooh, that's a little aggressive there. There we go. And it's also pretty aggressive. Either way, you get the idea. So this one, the grind would go like that. More like that. Like that. And like that. So this one, typically a hollow grind that goes through here. And hollow means it's ground on a wheel. When the wheel hits the metal, it creates a hollow on both sides, kind of like that. So a hollow grind looks more like this. And what this does is it gives you a sharper point here, easier to sharpen, and as it ages over time, it's still fairly basic to sharpen. The downside to a hollow point is this is really thin throughout this area, so it's not good for heavy use, chopping, prying, things like that. You'll see modified versions of that where they'll do a chisel grind or a wedge grind, depending on who you hear it from, and that's where they only grind one side, leaving this side flat. It gives it a little more strength than this. Just because it's overall thicker, but kind of the in-between of those. So this kind of blade is good for skinning, good for slicing, small work, things like that. Depending on how the front of the knife is done, if it has harpoons, or it could even be dagger ground, things like that. This blade type is good for piercing as well. You get into this style of Tanto. This has been hollow ground, and this has been hollow ground. So going back to this, it's going to be sharper in the front, sharper there, but it's not good for prying and things of that nature. The cool thing about this is if you look at it from a combative's experience, and things like that, when you look at force multiplication, when you're going to do a slash with a knife like this, it has a curve on it. And what that does is if you're swinging it and it makes contact here at the end, this has a better chance of glancing off of it. We recently went to a knife fighting training course that we attended by Martial Blade Concepts, and it was Spartan Mode, if you're looking him up on Instagram. And he did a demonstration where they had a bunch of pork meat wrapped around a stick, and then it had a bunch of saran wrap around it, and then jeans over that to imitate the human leg. And when he got a drop point or a blade that had any sort of curve on it and went for it, it wouldn't pierce the jean, just because it has a tendency to slide off. So it's great for piercing, it's great for slicing once you're in the meat, but if there's any kind of protective barrier in between there, it has a better chance of sliding off, no matter how sharp it is. So that can be a downside to that. The nice thing about having this straight point here is anytime you have a straight point of contact, and he did the same test with the jeans cutting through, it has that point, and this point is what's going to cause the slice. So good benefit there. And again, hollow ground and hollow ground, so it'd be really sharp, really sharp. I've heard it called the Japanese Tanto, but it all depends on who you're talking to. This one, I've heard this called an American Tanto. That's usually what I call the American Tanto. It has a flat ground front, hollow ground main bevel. So this gives you, in my opinion, the best of both worlds, because this part is hollow ground, so it's going to be nice and sharp for when you need to cut, without serrations. Serrations, I think, are more of a, I call it like a band-aid to a solution. If you know how to sharpen and your knife is sharp enough, then serrations aren't necessary, even when cutting rope, paracord, and nylon webbing. Not versus the benefit of having it. It has a tendency to get stuck, it has a tendency to clog. If you're really cutting through a lot of wild material, this will start to get choked up with things. So having a nice straight hollow ground edge, and with my experience with knives, making them and carrying them, serrations are more of a simple way to not have a sharp edge but still cut. And then you have your straight, and then this is a flat. So a flat grind is exactly what it sounds like. It's flat on both sides. Then you have the blade. This is more like an axe or a pry tool. Harder to sharpen because you have this angle here. So over time, it's going to get wider, which is why with sharpening, sometimes it's better to grind this back down to a point again and then resharpen it. But it's going to give you the strength because of how wide this is, to where if you did need to pry or torque or really put a lot of weight behind it, it has a much stronger front end. And it's going to give the entire knife strength overall just by having that up front. So that is a flat grind. Now some people flat grind the entire knife, which is great for strength, adds weight, but harder to sharpen and doesn't maintain an edge quite as long in the lifespan of the knife. But that's the American Tanto, as I call it. And then this is a recurve. This can be hollow, this can be flat, whichever variation you want to do. And recurve, basically, that is curved. Really good for slicing, chopping, things like that. And then the front, if you want it really sharp, you do it hollow. If you want it really strong, you do it flat. So you have different variations of those. So here I use an 8-inch wheel, a 10-inch wheel, and a 15-inch wheel when I'm hollow grinding. And what that can do to your grinds is it gives you a more aggressive curve. And then the 10-inch will be a less aggressive curve. And then the 15 almost looks flat just because of the size of the wheel and the contact surface between the blade and the wheel. When you go to a flat, it's literally just a flat plotting. So you can change the steepness of it, but you're not going to change anything other than just that angle. So that's the difference between flat and hollow. Hollow is going to be sharper, flat's going to be stronger. And if you're looking from a combative standpoint, you're going to create more damage if you can slice. One of the best designs for slicing in a combative arena is that style, because you have a sharp point here, you have a straight edge here, and then this hollow ground is going to give you the best from a cutting standpoint. Because if you start cutting here, like let's say the arm is here, and you start cutting there, as the point comes out, it's just force multiplication. This is actually going to get stronger. It's going to get more torque on it from the handle, and that's going to get stronger, which is why this style of blade is more likely to hit the bone within the center of the meat. Whereas a curved blade, the curve is going to come up, and all this torque that you have is going to start to, pardon the expression, but bleed off of that edge. You're not going to get the strength behind it as you would with the straight edge. One of the reasons, one of the most destructive swords, it's more straighter than curve. So for today's Tips Tuesday, there is blade and grind function difference between flats, hollows, and a couple different blade styles. There's thousands and they're all done by different names, so it all depends on the maker. But these are the popular styles of blades. And then you have hollow and flat for your primary grinds. This is all freehand or on a grinder. Now with the technology in CNCs and mills, you can do more with that. So that is the information for today. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to reach out at any time, and we will do the best we can to answer it. Thank you very much for watching.